Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the MuscleMind podcast. Today we're going to talk about something that Cody and I both we use in training. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it, time under tension. We're going to go over just a few of the main topics of what it is, why it's important, the different ways you can utilize it in your training, because there's going to be a lot of ways you can put time under tension in your training. What kind of workouts even you can do, what exercises you can do, the factors that go in using time and attention safely, because obviously I think a lot of people use time and attention the wrong way, which can very easily turn into injuries and over soreness and different situations like that. So Cody, where'd you first hear about time and attention?
So for me it was primarily when I was working with like D1 athletes in the college setting. Because most athletes have like a periodized type of training, so you're going to want to have a certain level of fitness or power and strength, and while season's going on, but then like during your off season you're going to have time frames where you're going to try and actually get more hypertrophy, muscle size. So like a lot of us, that's what we're going to cover that I think today, because that's where I think it really comes into benefit, is when you are trying to break the muscles way down without having to always do a tremendous amount of weight or repetition and whatnot. So that's when I first kind of got into it, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of like timing, or like I call it cadence. Some people call it tempo.
Eccentric, or
concentric and eccentric.
Yes.
Movements of the muscle.
That's basically what it is.
So for me, it really kind of depended on what type of athlete, on the speed of everything, so for me that's when I first heard about it. What about you?
I think I first heard about it whenever I started following a guy named Julian Smith. He's a big time bodybuilder now, really one of the good guys in the bodybuilding scope on social media. He's very upfront about everything, and he's the one that first introduced it whenever I first saw it, because that's how he trained. He's trained that way for years, and he always said it was just a lot safer. You can use different methods, talking about, what's it called again? Eccentric? What is it?
So concentric, so like
I get those. Sometimes I get eccentric and decentric.
Yeah. Well, so you have like three primary. So you have a concentric, which that's when you're primarily like shortening the muscle or moving the muscle towards you. So easiest example is a bicep curl. That's when you're pulling the bar towards you. Yeah. Eccentric is when you're elongating the muscle fibers. A lot of times, if you're really trying to train eccentrically, you can actually like go with a heavier weight, because the weight and gravity and all that's going to be pulling you, so it's going to be forcing you. You actually generate, you really
kind of like a negative rep.
It is some people call those negative reps. So that's another word for eccentric.
Which is basically time under tension for those that have done negative reps before. Like doing pull-ups. If you can't do a lot of pull-ups, they tell you all the time to kind of keep yourself up there, whatever they do now, and you just kind of lower yourself down, which is basically time under tension.
The reason, because your muscle fibers are having to fight so hard to keep you from like just completely letting go. So it causes so much strain on the muscle that you can, cause the breakdown of those fibers. You're going to get a lot more strength out of those. You're going to get hypertrophy out of their size growth out of them, but you're definitely going to get a lot of strength out of that as well. And then you have isometric, which is like a
hold.
Is a static hold. So like that could be considered in a lot of ways, but like a plank is a good example, or a wall sit, or there's actually times where if you hit like a squat plateau, where people will take the safety bars of a squat rack and put it, kind of 3/4 of the way up.
And you go down to sit for a second.
Well, you can take the bar and go underneath the squat rack.
Oh, wow.
And drive up into it, and so you're creating so much tension in your muscles because you can't physically move it.
Oh, yeah.
And it can cause actually a muscle recruitment. Like you have dormant muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Sorry, we totally went.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
So anyway, so we're all built. We're already born with so many muscle fibers in our body, and not all of them are all active. So like when you do things like that, really strong isometric holds, you can actually wake those dormant muscle fibers up and kind of recruit your strength in that manner. Anyway, concentric, eccentric, isometric, and there's isokinetic, but we'll save that for another day.
So we get into like cadence. A lot of times whenever I do, I'll do it with my ladies once every, one full week. We'll do nothing but time under tension with everything. about like once every 3 or 4 weeks or so, just to kind of.
I love that you do it that way.
Just to kind of shake the body up. I train that way whenever I want to start lean out or something like that, or cut down, whatever. I'll do a lot of time under tension because you get into the slow twitch muscle fibers, the fast twitch muscle fibers, and things like that. But talking about cadence, to say like doing a squat, having like that 2 second negative, that 1 second pause, and that 1 second obviously coming back up, you're firing all kind of muscle fibers, all different angles, especially when you're doing squats.
Right.
You're hitting. That's if you've never done that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a different animal.
Well, what's interesting for me, because like when we were training our athletes, we would do like a 1 second concentric, so kind of a quick movement, or like a fairly, I say quick, but like a fairly, we'll say like a bicep curl, like kind of a quick pull, and then like a 3 second down. But we wouldn't have too much of a rest, and so I got used to lifting that way. But then recently, when I started kind of restudying a little bit more on time under tension, and because I've done different cadences, I've trained with different cadences, but I tried like a kind of like a 3-1-3, like a 3 seconds of the main movement and then a pause and then 3 seconds of kind of going back up. And I was so sore.
It's correct. Especially when you change it up like that too.
Yeah.
If you're doing because we always change it, and it also depends on the movement. If you're doing like a lateral raise or something like that.
Yeah.
You really want to get that. Help me out. Eccentric. Eccentric. I'm gonna get those by the time we end the show. I haven't used those terms in a while. Yeah. I always you do the cadence in my head. It's weird too whenever you start training people, you have all these words.
Yeah.
But you know what you're talking about, so you don't use the actual
different
term.
cues. That's why I love this podcast, because we can really do that. Yeah. But you're a good example on shoulders, because shoulders.
You use like an eccentric instead of, because you don't want to come up for 3 seconds. I mean, you could, but it'd be very difficult.
It's harder, I think, on like a shoulder movement, or like more of a muscle that's isolated like that. Because when you're pushing, or if you're squatting, or if you're doing stuff like that, you have other muscles that's helping. Right. But like shoulders, I mean, when you're pressing, that's one thing, but when you're doing a raise, it's all delt, and so you're talking about trying to get muscle size and.
But if you want to get that good deep solid burn, doing that, and then pausing for 1 or 2 seconds,
that's like technically an isometric. So
isometric hold, and then have that good 3 second. Yeah, that's a whole different deal. And we were talking about a minute ago. It allows you to not go as heavy, but you're still getting the major benefits.
Yeah. If you do it correctly, and that's what we're talking about too, about how. So cadence is extremely important. It's fun. If you hadn't ever done it, I would recommend
it's crazy.
Changing it up, because I've so many years I've done 1 to 3, and I did that 3 to 3 or 3-1-3, and I was so sore. But like, you have to maintain a certain level of intensity too. You can't just cut your weight in half and then do it. You got to have a good percentage of weight.
Well, they say like per science, you want 20 to 40 seconds per set.
Yeah.
So say you're doing like. Say you are doing like a bicep curl. You want to spend 20 to 40 seconds time under tension of your biceps within that. Right. Say you're doing 4 sets of 10 or something like that. But you want to have 20 to 40 seconds of tension on your biceps. So maybe you do like a total of like a 4 second rep, which times 10 will give you 40 seconds. Yeah. But if you have come up and you squeeze for 2 seconds and have a 2 second negative, that's your time under tension, getting to that 20 to 40 seconds per set, and that's a real deep burn. I train several of my ladies not off of reps, but off of time. Yeah. So if they're doing squats or something like that, we'll squat for 40 seconds. Yeah. But it'll be more or less like you're doing 8 reps and you're doing a 5 second rep.
Yeah. It's funny how it all kind of works out when you do that. They all work together, because if you're just doing time, you go back and count it, you're going to be right in that rep range that you're going to do it.
That's exactly right.
It's neat too about, I think, the time under tension, how you don't necessarily have to do as much weight. Nope. Well, yeah, obviously, if you do it correctly, you can't do as much weight as you normally would.
You can't.
And so, the fibers are having to fight to keep contracting, and so you're causing like that micro trauma, that stuff that we've talked about before about. You kind of cause those muscles to splinter because they're having to fight so much, and they're breaking them down, and so then they rebuild and they swell and they get bigger. But then also, if you're like muscle resynthesis, because if you do controlled stress in your body's going to improve. It's like when somebody breaks a bone, when it heals back, a lot of times that bone's going to be stronger than the one that wasn't broken. And so the muscles are the same way. And this really allows you to do it kind of in a different format. And it truly I think it tests your personal discipline. Because
what I was about to talk about.
I was doing shoulder press the other day, and I know some guy, a friend of mine was walking by, and he was like, I don't think you got enough weight there. And I'm like shaking my head because I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing as much as I normally would.
It does. It takes a lot of patience when you use time and attention when you're training too.
Yeah.
And because you are spending 3 to 6 seconds sometimes doing one rep.
Yeah.
As usually, you're doing bench press, you're up, you're down. That's about 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're taking time to, even pause down here for 3 seconds or, lower it for 3 seconds, it takes a lot of, like you said, self-discipline to get that rep in within a certain amount of cadence that you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all kind of different ones, cadence, especially when you start like supersetting things, and it'll get you in shape, man. It's a different type of training for sure.
Yeah, I was
very effective.
Even knowing the science behind it and then kind of flipping back into it a couple weeks ago, I don't really want to stop it yet. I like that you do it with your girls to kind of change up. Yeah, because you're kind
plateau busting.
Yeah, you're talking about because you're having to recruit more fiber. You're having to really break them down. But yeah, I'm a little bit addicted to it right now, so this is a good time to kind of talk about it.
Yes, and I'll use it, like I said, whenever I want to, or if I want to change up workout or something like that, or if I want to, whenever I start cutting down or leaning out for the summer or something like that, I'll do time and attention a lot. Because you can't use as much weight. You're having to incorporate more muscle fibers. You're working 10 times harder.
Yeah.
You really are. You work much, much harder during your training, and it doesn't seem like you're doing a whole lot. That's the thing, especially if you're used to training a certain way, when you're doing things back to back or you're kind of going quick with it, which is nothing wrong with that. If you switch gears to time and attention, you're doing a set of, let's say, lateral raises for, 10 reps, and you're gassed.
Yeah, I actually checked my heart rate, the difference, and there's probably I think it was like 30 beats per minute higher, at least, than it was when I did normal reps and sets. And I even tested it out. I even did less, fewer actual exercises because it takes more time. So I might do 8 exercises, for a certain muscle group, or for that workout or whatever. I may do 2 muscle groups or something, and I only did 4. And I was still sore for 3 days.
Yeah, you can't, like you said, you can't do it. And that's another kind of downside, I guess you want to say, to it, is it does take longer to train that way. It 100% does. I mean, you're taking several more seconds per rep.
Right.
You total that over to a whole workout. You're doing 6 or 7 exercises, 3 or 4 sets each.
Yeah.
And that definitely is going to add up. So that's one downside to it.
Yeah.
But another downside is, technically it could be a faster workout.
Yeah.
Because you're keeping yourself more engaged a lot more than.
That's the way I use it. I actually use it to kind of save a little time, and I get more days in. Because sometimes you can try and work out every day or 5 days, or some weeks might be harder for some that can only get in 3 days in or whatever. But if I think it kind of help with your frequency of workouts too. Sometimes people get defeated if they go in, they know they got 10 exercises they got to get in, where if they have 4 or 5 really good time under tension based, it's a little bit easier to kind of talk yourself into it and actually maybe get more days in to cover other parts of your body.
Right. I mean, there was a guy in Arizona, can't remember his name. Anyway, his ladies would come in, or he would do a workout with his clients, and he would only have 45 minutes, obviously with them, but his strength training was only 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And he would pick 4 exercises, and he would do time and attention with those 4 exercises. And people were they would obviously, and then obviously they would do cardio after, but it is. If you look at it that way, it could definitely cut your time or training frequency more, because you're not having to spend an hour to an hour and a half in the gym or something like that. But it does. It'll gas you. You're definitely burning some calories. It's a different type of training.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to go kind of pull away from this and try this out. Yeah,
I love it.
I was talking to Rowan, Linda's husband, the other day, and he was talking about because he used to kind of use in bodybuilding and stuff several years ago, and the gym they went to, and they talked about how there's one guy that was always in there, and super nice guy, and he was in really good shape. I mean, just smooth muscle lines, just really good tone.
Yeah.
And that's all he ever did. They never saw him. Yeah, they never saw him lifting super hard. He never grunted, made any noise. He was always doing that kind of controlled.
Well,
obviously, nowadays we like to do variations of stuff. We like to change it up.
Yeah, because we're never happy. You always want to do something different.
But anyway.
But it also goes to mind to muscle connection when you're doing time under tension too. You know, if you're doing like a dumbbell chest press, you know, if you're eccentric, when you're lowering it down, if you're not engaging your pecs or you're not engaging your triceps or something like that, kind of lean to your shoulders, you're not gonna feel it where you need to feel it.
Right.
But if you're keeping your chest engaged as you're doing that eccentric rep, it's gonna you're tearing the muscle fibers down. It just takes a little bit longer to get through that set. Yeah.
And they have to recruit. They have to stay on, and that's why I'm still kind of working on it, because that slower tension, because you get to that towards the end. You're wanting to hurry up and you want to like mentally hurry up and physically you want to hurry up and get to your 10 or 12 reps, but those last 3 or 4 are so brutal, but they definitely work.
Yeah, and it's
who was the guy you were talking about earlier? You said Moretti, or you said
Michael Morelli. Yeah, he's built a freaking huge fitness deal. He actually lives in Scottsdale.
Okay.
He's got 1.5 million followers on Instagram, whatever. But his main thing was the 20 to 40 seconds per set.
Yeah. Okay, I just wonder.
Malcolm Morelli, he's built a really big fitness business, and he uses a lot of time under tension and body weight things, and that's another thing I was going to talk about too. With time under tension, if you are short on time, or maybe you're limited on equipment, if you just grab your body and do a push-up with a 3 or 4 second eccentric push-up with a 1 second isometrical hold,
pause,
equaling 4 to 5 seconds, that push-up is a game changer.
I took a girl, so this was years ago, like when Melissa and I first met, my wife, we met over a broken leg. It's always kind of a funny story, because the girl that broke her leg, now she has set all types of powerlifting records and all this stuff. So she come from powerlifting family, so she loved to just lift, really lift. She was like a middle distance, kind of short distance track athlete. Anyway, so it was interesting because so when her leg was healing, there were certain exercises that we were going through, and she was used to lifting like hard, heavy weights. Well, I remember one day and this was case in point, so we took 2 medicine balls, like size 10 medicine balls, not that big.
Yeah.
And since she was so strong, like a normal, I guess somebody starting out or whatever, you could just do a regular push-up. Right. And that'd be enough with time under tension. But like for her, being so strong, I said, well, we're going to make it a lot more challenging, because I wanted to make the stabilization. Anyway, short story long, per usual. So I had her hands up on, like one hand on each ball, so she had so much more stabilization. And then she did a super slow. And she was so surprised that she was sore for days.
Yeah, that's time under tension per definition right there.
Yeah, so it's just cool to really kind of see it.
But it is cool, like you said, you can use your own body weight, doing lunges, doing squats, planks, doing even any kind of ab movement. As long as you have that time under tension, you can utilize this method with anything.
Right.
Powerlifting, bodybuilding, bodyweight exercises, even with your HIIT training, there's all kind of things you can do.
Yeah, you throw it in there in the mix. I mean, it's definitely going to ramp up the intensity of it all, for sure. I feel like there was something else I was going to say pertaining to time and attention. Oh, like if you're somebody who, let's say if you're somebody who goes in and really checks your percentage of weight, like based off of, because, like the more strength training, like the lower reps that you're trying to do, a lot of times that's closer to like power and strength training. So you're going to have like closer to 80-85% of what a predicted, or at least a rep max might be. But anyway, so like that's where the cadence can kind of come into play, and we can probably kind of pull away from the cadence and tempo and everything after this one. But we're talking about 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up, or 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up. Like if you do like a 1 second down and or 3 second up or whatever, that can, I think sometimes that can you can play around with that. Like maybe you can go a little bit more up in weight if you're doing like a squat. Like if you're doing a quick concentric, where you're driving up,
right,
and then you're doing like a 3
I see what
second
you're
slow
saying.
down.
Yeah.
So you can kind of manipulate. You kind of get a little bit. I guess you can push yourself a little bit further by,
right.
It
depends on
honing in the weight.
That's right. It depends on what particular cadence you're using.
Yeah.
As opposed to like what kind of weight that you want to use. Absolutely.
Right.
Is that basically?
That's that's what I'm saying. I mean, because we're throwing around tempos, and so
right.
I could see where people were going. Well, I think if you're going to go into it, I would say try a 2 second or a 3 second both ways.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're doing like a pause squat, even if you're doing like barbell squats and you're pausing, as you go down and you pause for 2 seconds, it's not going to take much weight.
Yeah.
That 2 second pause is going to be a lot harder than you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not having that pause at the bottom, where you're just lowering yourself for, let's say like a 4 second negative, no pause and explode back up,
right.
you might can use a little bit more weight as opposed to adding that pause in there.
What risks of like screwed up form do you think is?
Well, it's big.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of like you said with your training, those last few reps get very hard.
Right.
If you're doing like a shoulder press and you get to those last few reps and your back's all arched and you're doing this because you're trying to hold it coming down, then you're probably using a little bit too much weight.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Or even maybe doing this with deadlifts. I had a girl last week do time and attention using deadlifts.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much weight at all because deadlift is a form-based exercise anyway.
Right.
And it's usually like a power move. But if you do it with a good 3 second pause, like a 3 second negative, and like 2 seconds coming up, you can kind of put that in your head. It doesn't take much weight.
No, and you got risk of falling out of form as far as straining your low back and trying to keep it all back in your glutes and your hamstrings.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. And then like for me, I think even you can get risky with like just dumbbell bench press.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you're trying to push a little more, and all it takes is one
Wrong
shift or one wrong move to potentially hurt a muscle or strain a muscle or whatever. So if you do it right, you definitely have to be smart about it. I always say, for most cases, for the general population, it's best to err on the side of caution. It's better to go a little bit lighter until you get your form down.
And I think too, kind of, if you've never done time and retention, try using it with cables or using like machines.
I completely agree with that.
Instead of using free weights, until your body can get used to it, because it is a huge adjustment. If you've been trained in a certain way and you've never done time and retention before, don't go load up a barbell squat or like a dumbbell bench press and have them fall on your face because you can't hold it no more.
Yeah.
Go use a machine. Try with the leg press. Try with the leg extensions, the chest press, lat pull downs.
Yeah.
The basic moves with machines. Then maybe graduate into using cables, doing tricep push downs.
Right.
Which is a phenomenal one, by the way, using time and retention.
Yeah, I was using
a lot of people don't use mind and muscle connection doing triceps.
Yeah,
it's
they
very
just passively
hard.
go through it for some reason.
It's very, very hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's just such a.
It's easy to walk up and do it, so they
and
treat it.
For guys, listen, if you want to have big arms, work triceps, not biceps.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. But anyway,
what gets me? There's 3 muscles versus 2 muscles.
Right.
So
if you want big arms, do triceps.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
If you want to look like you have big arms, do triceps. So true.
Yeah.
Instead of doing all these bicep curls, literally go hit your triceps.
Yeah. Sidebar.
Yeah, but that's what I would do if you've never used time and retention or experimented with it. Use cables, use the machines, get it down, let your body get adjusted to them, and then maybe start with some lightweight free weights thrown in there every now, and then work to the barbell and
that's what I did.
The compound movements.
I use the machines even though I know form. I mean, I understand mechanics and form, but I'm like, this is a new method, so you're gonna screw it up, or you just need to change it up. So I did machine bench chest press. I even did machine fly, just so I could just really destroy my chest on it. I did machine, for the first few times, and I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and as you get used to it, definitely go to. But it's just like anything else. Like if you just started working out or exercising, you're not going to go hop under a bar and start doing squats with them if you've never done a squat before.
Yeah.
And this training it's going to make you feel like you've never really trained before if you do it correctly.
It truly does, and it tests all your different. Like you said, it pulls from your energy system because you have to keep going to be able to sustain that tension. So, it's going to pull from slow twitch, it's going to pull from fast twitch. It's really
a different animal.
That's why it pulls you it's good for plateau because it causes so many different energy systems to work.
It's big for plateau busting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if y'all don't know what, I'm sure many of you do, but if you don't know what plateau busting, it is what it sounds like. It's you've kind of hit a wall. You feel like you can't go up anymore in weight or whatever the resistance goal is, and you just feel kind of stuck, and it's a way to really change it. I wonder how much time under tension we went through the other day when you and I took our first Pure Barre class.
That was bad.
Yeah, we got roped into a Pure Barre class by.
She invited us to go back.
She did. She did.
Yeah.
Well, good. We'll have to go back. I was sore for a few days. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, just you're holding that stuff.
That's basically time under tension.
The whole for 50 minutes though.
Yoga is essentially.
Yeah.
In most cases,
so true.
It's time under tension.
That's why people are surprised. I think when first time they go,
it's so difficult.
They're all the first thing they say when Namaste is said at the end is that was so hard. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna go.
It's basically time under tension.
Yeah, you're not gonna go and relax. You're gonna feel better after the class. You're not gonna feel great while you do it.
Yeah, we went and took a Pure Barre class, and I don't know, man. I don't know if men are meant to bend that way and do those kinds of things, but my ass was on fire. Different parts of my ass I didn't know I had.
Well, yeah.
Now it makes sense of why you have all these, women walking around.
Yeah, my abs were sore because you have to hold it so much, and you're doing like a pulse.
Well, even triceps, man. Even my arms were a little bit
quads
sore.
were. See, she had me way up on them toes, and I was.
But
everybody
talking about time under tension, being on your toes. If you can imagine being on your toes, squatting down a little bit, your quads are constantly contracted. Mm-hmm. You're putting tension on your quads.
Right.
So that's basically time under tension.
Right. And you're doing slight
pulses
movements.
A little bit, right.
So you're doing like not full range, concentric, eccentric motion. So you're like really pulling at the arc of like the strength point within your muscle fibers. So
yeah.
it ain't no joke.
It was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like...
That's why I put it off for 2.5 years.
I know. I finally got him to go, and I was like, look, dude, if I'm going to this, man, you're going to. Heather Brown, she did a great job.
Phenomenal trainer. If you're in Birmingham, I'd highly recommend you go to her class.
But they just even, like, pretty much, like, just a warm-up.
Yeah.
The warm-up was tough. She was like, we're just warming up, I'm like, the hell we are.
She said that was a warm-up. Yeah, she said that was a warm-up, and I was like, oh, what have we done?
I got her back today, though. We trained back together. Yeah. But that's essentially what, utilizing time under tension, yoga, Pure Barre, now that I know that, Pilates, I'm sure uses a lot of time under tension.
Yeah, definitely.
Strength training, if you kind of follow any of the Instagram, workout people, a lot of those guys are using time. People that are doing shows, people that are doing, bodybuilding and bikini shows, a lot of them are utilizing time under tension now. It's becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, and it's becoming more. I think people are understanding it a lot more and being intentional about it.
It's intentional training is basically what it is.
Right, and like a lot of the stuff that we talk about that's why we get pretty nerdy about it. I know we kind of really break it down for you because we want you to understand it and try out these things when you might feel like it's a good time frame. But yeah, like if you've ever been in a gym and you see some dude that's 4% body fat and just massive, or even some woman who's like really like a competitor of some sort, with even just figure or whatnot, you look over and they're doing 20 pounds for a single arm tricep extension. That's why they're doing 20 pounds, because it's
intentional.
It hurts.
Right, and they're using mind-muscle connection to really tap into whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
Instead of going through the motions and doing these reps super fast and these Olympic movements. This is why I don't like CrossFit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. I know we had talked about CrossFit a lot, and I always defend because we have people that do it, and it has
fine.
a purpose. But they don't. You don't see, from what I'm aware, you don't see the time under tension stuff. It's all power movements. It's highly quick, super fast twitch.
And that's but that's why I don't do CrossFit, or I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm a huge fan of intentional training, time under tension, functionality. That's what I'm a fan of, and that's just everyone has their own thing. But for the purpose of this podcast, if you've never tried time under tension, or maybe you've never worked out before, it's a phenomenal place to start. Yeah. If you have like a plateau and you've kind of hit a wall with your training, start adding in some time under tension into your training. Yeah. It makes you so much stronger, and so much more functional when you're doing exercises. If you do squats for a couple weeks using time under tension, and you go that next week and you're doing just regular cadence, no pauses, no eccentric, nothing like that, you're going to sling some weight.
It's going to seem, I was going to say, it's going to seem a lot easier because you've really pushed it to another level. Yeah. So I look forward to, everybody's listening to this. I mean, definitely leave some comments or whatever platform you're doing it. Let us know if you've tried it, if you're doing it currently, what cadence you kind of like, what exercises you like to try it on.
I mean, there's
so many ways you can do it.
There's all kinds, and we'll, make sure you look out on our Instagram page at HomeFit too, and we'll have some, or even probably like on our own, we'll put some different cadences and different workouts you can use using time and attention, just to kind of show you what exactly it is, and kind of like how I write out workouts for clients and stuff like that is I use what they call semicolons in between them. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like 3 semicolon 2 semicolon 1,
right?
Eccentric, eccentric, and then that's the
concentric, eccentric, and
whatever. I don't know why I keep using that damn word.
Well, eccentric is a word.
I know. What is it for? How is it? It's something with fitness, right? It's not.
So concentric, eccentric, and then
concentric, eccentric.
Isometric.
Why do I keep thinking about?
It's so close. It's super close.
It's close. But that's and utilizing and kind of coming up with your own method of how you want it to. Because I always write my workouts out, and I'm sure a lot of people do too, and thinking about them and what cadence you're going to use, and coming up with your own method to kind of keep it in line, and trainers too.
Just not with your clients.
Yeah, if you want clients to do it, come up with your own method of utilizing your cadence so your client knows what you're talking about. If you ever write them a workout out, if they're like on a hotel or they're traveling, it's a great way to get a good workout in with minimal equipment.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I think it's because we're going right in here to Christmas season. I think it's a good time for us to put out some type of sample of one of these, because you can do it when you're at home or whatever.
10 sets of 5-second rep squats or something like body weight.
My favorite thing really is to put somebody through just a slow, like time under tension, just stationary lunge, or even just elevating their back foot, or getting closer into like a Bulgarian split squat or something. You talking about people shaking?
It's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult.
Anyway, obviously we like this stuff.
Yeah, I like you last time.
We're pretty sadistic anyway.
Yeah.
In our training, so we like people shaking. So
That's
it was nice to kind of taste our own medicine at the Pure Barre class the other day.
Oh, she got me, man. I did get her back today on our behalf, but I'll definitely go back. I told her, she said we're invited back, so I told her I'm down to go, and be cool to throw that in there once every now and then,
Yeah, you talking about, you're definitely going to change up your
huge, then lifting weights all the time for sure. But
anyway,
let us know what you think, man. Time and attention. There's a lot of different avenues we could go. I think we covered a lot of the basics and how it works, the science behind it, Cody's nerd out moment, and kind of ways you can put it into your training, pros of it, cons of it, different things like that. So let us know what you guys think, and don't forget, HomeFit is still doing 10% off all their services the rest of the year, guys, and they got some pretty cool e-gift cards coming up too for the holidays, for friends, families, neighbors, things like that. So make sure you guys check it out. Any last words?
No, I think that's good. I say go forth and go slow.
That's right. Go slow. That's right. Motto of the day. Thanks, guys.
All right.